Boruto Two Blue Vortex proves the expression that good things come to those who wait to be absolutely correct, because Sarada has finally been forced to use her Mangekyo Sharingan, and as you expect from someone who says she wanted to be strong enough to fight against Otsutsuki level threats, this power is absolutely broken enough to allow her to do so, and we'll touch on that later. But there was no better first opponent to use this power on than Ryu, given the theme of the arc that we're in of itself, which is exploring the complexities of the human heart, and the Mangekyo Sharingan are the eyes that reflect the heart. So we open up the chapter with Konohamaru's life basically flashing before his eyes, and realizing that if he doesn't think too quickly on his feet, he's gonna end up meeting his Uncle Asuma in Ninja Heaven and die before he ever gets the chance to be Hokage and pay off his promise to Naruto in chapter 2 of Naruto, where they agreed to one day fight each other for the Hokage title. And he's now progressed to a point where he is coughing up blood, and Konohamaru, being the quick thinker that he is, he switches from victim to Riz God. When Matsuri ponders if she should break his neck to make him shut up or let him talk while she slowly eats him alive, Konohamaru lays it on thick with her. He reminds her that talking to him was supposed to have been the best day of her life, and if she gets rid of him, then they won't be able to talk ever again. And as she's doing this, we see Matsuri conflicted by the expression on her eyes as she's watching Konohamaru's entire head get crushed in. What we're seeing here is what Konohamaru was told by Shikamaru: play off the inexperience of these Shinji. Konohamaru is maintaining eye contact while she's talking through her emotions, all while we get that brutal shot of how the wood release is being used by Matsuri as his blood is dripping onto it as it is crushing into Konohamaru's spine and the back of his head, while simultaneously pulling him closer towards her to the point that they're almost face to face. And it's at this moment we start to get an idea of what truly being devoured by Shinji means. Matsuri intended to literally eat him, which that is a terrible way to go. The only thing saving him is Matsuri is conflicted about eating him. One side of her wants to keep him alive and the other side just wants him dead. However, this cold nature approach by Konohamaru as he embraces Shikamaru's mission plan to trick Matsuri into lowering her guard so he can kill her, it does come at a price, which we'll see later on, where Konohamaru Sarutobi the shinobi ends up clashing against Konohamaru Sarutobi the human being, and we see the downsides of Konohamaru having been part of Naruto's generation. Meanwhile, the battle against Ryu, it continues to rage on, and to say that things are looking a bit bleak, that's an understatement. The team of Sarada, Araya, and Yodo and Mitsuki, they have lost the Magna Release sword, which means that they're technically at Ryu's mercy as he uses that jutsu that belongs to Shinki, and he knows he has them. Araya's wind release jutsu, it proves to be ineffective. He goes down immediately, as does Mitsuki's Sage Mode's attack, though Mitsuki does put up a valiant effort after Araya is cut in the side by one of Ryu's attacks. However, just when it looks like Mitsuki is beginning to pressure Ryu, we see a coldly calculated move. Ryu uses his Iron Sand to grab Araya's body and use it as a human shield against Mitsuki's Sage Mode snakes, knowing that Mitsuki will be unable to strike through a comrade, and Ryu takes that moment to use this against Mitsuki by hitting him so hard he's knocked out of Sage Mode, he's coughing up blood, and now Ryu has taken control of Araya and Mitsuki's bodies, and he's now openly mocking Sarada and Yodo by stating checkmate, and it's a brilliantly calculated move. The two remaining shinobi are from the Sand Village and the Leaf Village, and he has a hostage that is close to each of them, which is why he's trying to use their safety as leverage to gain intel on Boruto. From allies to weaknesses, anything of use, claiming I'll let you guys live if you comply with my demands. This, my friends, is why I say that Ryu is the second most dangerous Shinju behind Jura, despite being the youngest out the entire group. This entire encounter, he's adapted in real time, and he's made backup strategies to his backup strategies as he gets new intel. He's smart enough to throw shade at Mitsuki while he's also containing his bloodlust. When Mitsuki says don't trust him, he'll kill us anyway, Ryu replies, hey, I'm nothing like you Konoha shinobi. I wouldn't do such a thing. However, Ryu understands that he's the one that has all the leverage here, and he's using it, and it's just another thing in the long list of accomplishments that show his IQ. He was smart enough to trick the shinobi into revealing their true intentions, basically deceiving them when they're trying to deceive him. He was able to adjust when Araya used that magnet release sword by setting up a multi-step plan to summon the claw grimes and use them to take away the iron sword before getting rid of them off screen. Now he's taken hostages, one from each team, in order to apply pressure to get them to meet his demands, and Yodo realizes they've been beaten, and so Yodo turns snitch. She can't even look Sarada in the eyes at first, but she begs her. She says, tell him where Boruto is, because otherwise we'll be killed. Before you harp on Yodo, I do want to say it's a human reaction here for Yodo to have that fear for her life and for Araya's life. But what we're also seeing here is a wise decision by Kishimoto and Ikimoto to begin the build-up for the reveal of Sarada's Mangekyo Sharingan, because Yodo's suggestion was needed to get Sarada deep into her emotions, which in turn starts serving as a bridge to her using Mangekyo. And the Mangekyo, again, are the eyes that reflect the heart. As Sarada states that she would never turn on a comrade, she recalls Sumire's words back during the drama that came from the fight regarding her hugging Boruto, something that if we go all the way back to chapter 17, it was still something very clear on Sarada's mind that she was thinking about the hug and Sumire's accusations, but now, as she's being pressured for more information, her mind has shifted to the other part of the conversation and the light bulb goes off for her. Sumire said they support Boruto, but they oddly know nothing about him, and it's because they know nothing that they're allowed to live the way that they have. Boruto's silence was to prevent a situation exactly like this. Sarada can't give up any information about Boruto that she doesn't have, and now we start to see a delayed payoff for that whole love triangle scene. Sumire was right in that they had to keep their distance from Boruto to honor his wishes, but Sarada was also right in that they have a duty to support him in battle as well, because Boruto can't do this alone. This hits even harder when you realize this all goes back to Boruto Naruto Next Generation's chapter 80. Sarada broke down when she realized that Boruto was having to carry this burden alone, and she wanted to help him, but she was unable to do so. Now she wants to help, and she can help, but her way of helping is for her right now to embrace her own ignorance about any concrete information pertaining to Boruto. And as she thinks this over, her heart, it is struggling. Yodo, someone who has super sensitive ears, can hear the smallest details from the breathing patterns of someone down to the beating of their heart, making her a human lie detector. Yodo knows this truth by using her power, which up until this point in the time has never been shown in the manga to this detail. The part about her being able to hear the heartbeats of a person, that was anime only until now. Yodo tells Sarada, I used to wonder how you could stick up for a rogue ninja who killed your Kage, but now I understand. He's the person for you, who you want to stand in his corner even when the rest of the world wants him dead. She says that while that person is Boruto for Sarada, that person for her is Shinki, which is another payoff to some of the slower stuff we had earlier in chapter 16, like Yodo asking Sarada, was she changing her look? Was she changing her vibe for a guy? Now Yodo is putting all these pieces together. It's also worth noting that Yodo saying that she had questions about how Sarada could support someone like Boruto, someone who killed the Hokage, killed the Hokage's wife, tried to kill their son, and is being hunted down by the Five Nations, including Gaara, who was personally leading a manhunt for Boruto before getting defeated by Matsuri. However, it's after hearing Sarada's heart that she realizes she would have done the same thing for Shinki that Sarada's doing for Boruto, which naturally, all of this girl talk, it bores Ryu, and he demands to know, are you complying with me or do I have to kill you all? This is where Yodo goes from wanting Sarada to snitch to now knowing the truth. She seemingly tries to spare Sarada that pain by offering up herself. She tells Ryu, use me instead, saying that they have zero information about Boruto, but with her sensory jutsu, she should be able to help Ryu by finding Boruto. And honestly, on the surface level, it's not a bad offer for Ryu. We've seen how well her sensory skills work, and they did do a good enough job when working with Gaara in that flashback that they found Boruto and Kashin Koji's hideout, just not the specific area of Orochimaru's underground cave they were in, but they got close. And Ryu isn't dumb. If he takes her up on that offer, he's basically transferring the leverage that he has to now her instead. Right now, he can kill her at any point, but if he takes her up on this offer, then she's not expendable, because he needs her to find Boruto, and he has no way of knowing whether or not she's lying, which is not the position you want to be in, which means Ryu has to think things over. And as he's weighing his options, you can tell he's coming to the conclusion, I don't really need you, because Matsuri, as she says in chapter 16, she's able to hear what the roots underground in the desert are able to see. Matsuri has a way to detect Boruto. Meanwhile, on the other side of the desert, upon seeing Konohamaru's spine and skull being crushed in the process, Matsuri has now been moved to tears. For the first time in her life, she is crying. And Konohamaru, he takes it as a teaching moment, telling her that what she is feeling is a sign that she doesn't truly want to kill him. Is Konohamaru trying to take the inexperience of Matsuri to make her give him an opening so he can kill her? But this is also where we get something interesting. Back in the Ten Tails dimension, Hidari is watching closely with confusion as Jura starts crying himself, which brings up another question that we can only speculate on. But we have to ask, does Jura now have a connection with the other Shinju in a way that is similar to Jinwoo from Solo Leveling, where he can sense the emotions of his shadow soldiers and see through them in real time? For now, we have to wait and see because we don't have an answer. Meanwhile, Konohamaru is now closer to Matsuri than ever before, so he tells her to grab hold of his hands, saying that holding hands is how a relationship starts. And as tears continue to fall, he does the same thing that Shikamaru wanted him to, which is to gain Matsuri's trust, then betray her. In the blink of an eye, Konohamaru forms two giant Rasengans, which destroy Matsuri's arms, and before she realizes what happened, he takes advantage of her being off guard and slams both giant Rasengans into her so hard that Kendrick Lamar somewhere is singing a minor while playing hopscotch in the background due to how big the balls being pushed inside of Matsuri were. Yet with what were supposed to be her last words, Matsuri says the name Konohamaru-chan, and that's where we see how Konohamaru fumbled. Jura reveals that Matsuri hesitated to kill Konohamaru because of love, but Konohamaru pulled off the killing intent from his attack out of love as well. And it goes back to hearing the words Konohamaru-chan and how one of the themes of this entire arc has been exploring humanity and the complexity of the human heart, which is crucial to remember when you realize what one half of chakra is for Naruto characters. Yin chakra, spiritual energy, which comes from the mind but also the heart, which is why Konohamaru, when his heart faltered, his jutsu lost some bite to it. Matsuri survived this attack with only her head and part of her chest left, and so she tries to finish off Konohamaru with another wood release, but I want to take the time to say something that I think is important. What we're seeing here is the downside to Konohamaru having been from Naruto's generation, because he suffers from being on the back end of that generation. He was in the generation that fought against the Akatsuki and had to deal with morally gray characters like Danzo, Kabuto, Orochimaru, yet he was too young to participate in any of those battles. And by the time he did come of age, he was too young to go fight in the war. And even with things like the Land of Silence that took place after the 4th Ninja War, so those would be those Shikamaru episodes from Naruto Shippuden 489 to 493, he was also too young and inexperienced to get involved in anything that complicated, and now it is biting him here. It's only 2 words, Konohamaru-chan, but those words were enough to bring back the feelings that he has for Moegi, which it impacted his attack on Matsuri. Sai, he could have done this. Ino could have done this. Sasuke and Shikamaru damn sure could have done this. But those are all people who directly had to deal with the gray area that exists in the shinobi world, where things aren't necessarily black and white. They can operate in that area where it requires blocking off the emotions of the heart. And sadly, he's not the only one who learns this. So too do Yodo and Sarada, but this is the final vehicle needed for us to see the Mangekyo show itself, which again, those are the eyes that reflect the heart. All of this is connected, so just bear with me. Ryu shoves his iron sand deep inside of Yodo to the point it penetrates her body and exits out of her back. And as Sarada goes to check on her, Ryu coldly watches as Sarada begins to panic as Yodo accepts her fate. She's dying, which, given the type of wound that she has, barring some emergency medical treatment, she will die. Yet before Sarada can do anything, Ryu takes control of her body. Now, as Yodo is bleeding out, she tells Sarada she knows it's over for her, but she decides to make her time count as Ryu begins to savagely count down from 4 to 3, signaling the number of shinobi he still has to kill. This leads to Yodo telling Sarada, listen to the words that she's about to say. She's basically telling Sarada that she knows she's holding back her true power, and she calls her out on it. She tells her that it's because Sarada doesn't understand her own feelings, and she asks her to think about who it is that Sarada wanted to gain power for, who it is that she wants to be strong for, that she knows the answer, which is why she knows that Sarada is confused about her feelings. But she's trying to deceive herself subconsciously into believing her feelings are everything except for what she knows deep down inside they are. And this, my friends, this does a lot of things. This is long-term storytelling in effect. The first thing it does is it gives us a payoff for what we got at the end of Boruto Part 1, specifically in Boruto Chapter 69, where Sarada gets pissed off that she's left behind when Boruto went to go fight Code, and she vows to get strong enough to stand alongside Boruto to fight Otsutsuki level threats. During that chapter, Sarada states she wants to help Boruto so much that she's mad at herself, and Mitsuki asks, is it because you like Boruto? And Sarada dodges that answer, which leads to him basically saying the same thing that Yodo did, which is that both of them believe that Sarada doesn't understand her true feelings. Then in chapter 78, Sarada basically loses it emotionally when she learns that Kawaki killed Boruto before and he's trying to kill him again. This time, she leaves with the intention to save Boruto, and we know via Kashin Koji's 10 directions in the reveal in chapter 13 of Two Blue Vortex, Sarada's actions did save Boruto's life, even if it gave Boruto the scar over his eye, because had she arrived a moment too late and never shot that fireball jutsu, the order of events would have been as follows according to Kashin Koji. Kawaki kills Boruto, and then Sarada gets killed afterwards. They die side by side. We're getting more payoff to all of that, as well as her initial Mangekyo Sharingan awakening, where the trauma and despair that came from learning Naruto was dead, hearing that Boruto was being blamed for it, breaking down at the thought of her father, killing an innocent Boruto being someone who idolizes her father. This led to her Mangekyo awakening and showing itself. Once again, it's playing into Yodo's words about Sarada seeking power for one person in particular. That person is Boruto, even if she hasn't fully realized it herself. This also pays off what Ikimoto himself revealed in 2024 regarding Sarada's time skip design. The day that Boruto became a rogue ninja, she purposely went to the store that Boruto shops at to buy the same brand jacket that he wears. The colors, they are red and black, picked specifically because of the proximity that red has to pink on the color wheel. Boruto wore a black jacket with pink, and Sarada wears a black jacket with red. It was her way of never forgetting Boruto and reminding people about Boruto, even the haircut itself. She sought powerful love. Whether you want to call it romantic, platonic, I'm not going to get into that. But regardless as to what shipping side you're on, love fueled her actions for the power of the Mangekyo awakening. And it's now being used for the first time that we see a jutsu being used in combat. But in order to bring that out for Sarada to use it, Yodo has to make one final push to her. She tells her she knows Sarada is holding back and that it's okay if Sarada only wants to use that power of hers, which we know is the Mangekyo, for one person, that one person being Boruto, who Sarada's heart is shown thinking of in this moment, and that she shouldn't feel bad about not wanting to use it for everyone. That's when it finally happens. Sarada's Sharingan immediately changes into a Mangekyo Sharingan, and we see one of the most broken abilities of the Naruto franchise on display. She basically is creating a black hole that is drawing on reused iron sand and gathering it into one place. She's forcing all this scattered iron sand to gather and free everyone in the process. And this moment hits even harder when you realize that Ikimoto is paying very loose homage to what happened in Dragon Ball, something that hugely inspired Ikimoto as a mangaka. The moment in question is when number 16 tells Son Gohan, it's okay to use power to kill people like Cell, to protect those who you love, because there are just some people you can't reason with. Some people are just evil. It's a loose homage, but it's well done here. Sarada has finally let go, and she's using a power that is a cross between Kamui and what we see with the Otsutsuki vessels when they use the Koma seal to open up the portals. As a result of Sarada's power, Mitsuki and the others are now free to move. Sarada is absorbing all that Iron Sand chakra, and Mitsuki for the first time realizes Sarada has the Mangekyo Sharingan. Now this is telling because it means that Sarada never revealed this power to anyone, even her teammate Mitsuki, and it's smart that she did this because it goes back to classic Naruto. You never show your trump card too soon. because when you do, people can find counters, and with eyes like the Mangekyo Sharingan, they burn out quickly if you overuse them, and you should only use them if you need to and have a chance to register a quick and decisive victory. Thematically, the build up for her using the Mangekyo now, after being called up for it, after being told it's okay to selflessly use that power, using it only for the person who she loves, and now having to use it now, it fits the theme of the arc. It fits the theme of the Mangekyo reflecting the eyes of the heart. We're seeing what Jura meant last chapter on full display. Love is a powerful emotion because it makes people act irrationally and do things against what they said they would not do, or is not in their best interest, which for Sarada is the former. She had a self-imposed rule to not waste the Mangekyo, and subconsciously limited that power for Boruto. As long as those eyes had light in them before they burned out, that light was only for Boruto. When Coach showed up to the village, she didn't get a chance to fight because Boruto showed up again. Against the Claw Grimes, using the Mangekyo Sharingan, in that moment, it's as dumb as Sasuke using Mangekyo for a random Cloud Ninja in Naruto Volume 44. Against Hidari, she struck him what she herself stated was a fatal wound, and she cut her Sharingan off, believing the threat was eliminated, not knowing he could regenerate. And after she was off guarded by Chidori, Sarada states she can't move her body, and after Boruto shows up again, the entire plan they had to defeat Hidari was built around Boruto using full power Rasengan Uzuhiko. So there was never any need for the Mangekyo, but here it is needed. She faced the same issue that Konohamaru did, which, what good is it to want to be with the person that you care for when you can't even make it out of this situation because you can't move beyond your own self-imposed restriction? For Konohamaru, it was briefly being unable to suppress the potential feelings he realized he had for Moegi, and seeing Moegi's feelings reflected to him via Matsuri. And for Sarada, it's realizing that not using this power she's saving only for Boruto would get the very people killed that Boruto is trying to protect, which makes the title of this chapter, Because of Love, come full circle. It's the 100th chapter of the Boruto series. It's a chapter that pays off so much of what was set up in Boruto Part 1, and it gives us the shining moment of seeing Sarada's long-awaited Mangekyo Sharingan ability, or rather, one of her abilities, because there's another ability for her other eye as well as Susanoo. Sasuke's little girl has quickly proven herself to be unlike any Uchiha before her, which to see how far she's grown, click here on the left to watch this video on how strong Sarada was at the end of Boruto Part 1. Click here at the top to watch my latest blind review from my Everything One Piece Explained channel, or click here on the right for my newest video from Anime Explained.